Just days after the deadly shooting of Johann Sebastian Guerrero involving an ICE agent in Biddeford, the City of Biddeford worked with local nonprofits to support his family, friends, and anyone else affected. And one example of this was the city's partnership with Sweetser to provide free trauma support sessions for those in need. And here to discuss that is Sweetser's Joanne Grant. Joanne, thank you so much for being here. How did Sweetser assist the Biddeford community in the aftermath?
Sure, thank you for having me. Supporting people in communities during difficult times is core to Sweetser's mission. So of course, when the City of Biddeford called, we answered. We deployed members of our Critical Incident Stress Management CISM team to work alongside city officials and other community partners to provide sessions to those who needed the support. To put it simply, people who were hurting, we were there, we listened, and we connected them to further assistance if they needed it.
And when you deploy these teams, what kind of training do they get?
Yeah, we use an approach, an evidence-based approach called Critical Incident Stress Management. In simple terms, it's a form of psychological first aid, really just dealing with people's immediate response and reactions to a traumatic event. It's important to note it's not therapy. It's just giving people a safe place to talk. We're listening, and then again, I keep mentioning to you that important piece where we're going to connect them to further support if it's been identified as needed. We do this in one-on-one sessions or larger groups, but for this specific event, we chose to do individual drop-in sessions. That made the most sense. We had private places where we could speak confidentially to people coming in, and I do want to mention this is free of cost, and you don't just have to be someone who is directly impacted by the tragedy. We actually had people come in who were neighbors, people who came in that knew the victim, and then a lot of people came in who had their sense of safety and well-being had just been damaged, and they needed to process that and talk about that.
And that would kind of lead into why this kind of response and why this kind of treatment is so important after an event like this, right? Yeah. How would you characterize that?
I think it's important to normalize that people are going to have strong emotions when an event like this occurs, regardless if they were directly or indirectly impacted. And there's no real formula for what that's going to look like, right? It could be that day, it could be a week later, it could be a month later. And we really need to be there to listen and help someone process. And again, find that connection to additional resources, for the most part, to prevent that from becoming something much more complicated in the future. So at the end of the day, the message is nobody should have to deal with that alone. There are people and entities like Sweetser who will be there to support you.
And if anyone has any questions, they can reach out to Sweetser, correct? Yeah.
Correct, yes. Okay. We call our promise line. We have 25 to 30 trained CISM workers. You would call 1-800-434-3000, and if you needed that level of support, Sweetser could talk to you about that. And of course, if you needed individual support for a mental health or substance use crisis, call or text 988.
All right. Thank you, Joanne. Appreciate it. What you guys do is so important. Thank you so much for being here.